Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome back to Japan Vintage Camera, where today I'm coming to you from Hinokicho Park, which is next to Tokyo Midtown, where I happen to live here in Tokyo. And I'm at this park today because there are helicopters by the other park and they tend to be a little bit noisy for making videos. The park here is a little busy. There's a lot of kids around today enjoying the weekend. Normally I would be at home today making a video, but my daughter is at home and one of her friends is having a play date, so it's quite noisy. They're playing a lot of princess music and having fashion shows and things like that, so I decided to come here where I could take a video with a little bit more peace. Anyway, today's video is about an interesting camera, and one which I don't really have any experience with. This is actually the first example of one of these cameras which I have had. And this camera is the Walz Envoy 35 rangefinder camera. Now the Walz company was popular in Japan for a number of years, and mainly as a maker of photographic accessories. They made things like lens hoods, tripods, caps, and things like that, accessories for cameras, but they also produced a number of simple cameras. They produced a twin lens reflex camera, the Walz Flex, and a few 35mm rangefinder cameras. And the Envoy 35, I think, is the best of the bunch as far as the Walz rangefinder cameras go. I had never handled one of these before I got it. I've seen them before on the internet a few times, and out of curiosity I saw this one for sale and I decided to pick it up. And when it arrived, I was surprised. It was quite a large and full-size camera. The size and weight is similar to an Aries camera, but you know, perhaps a little bit taller. But overall, I'm really impressed by the quality and the controls on the Walz rangefinder camera. Now, the Walz Envoy 35 was released in 1958, and there were two models available, one with a 4.8cm f2.8 lens, and another with an optional 4.8cm f1.9 lens, and this happens to be an example of that. These cameras were fitted with a copal shutter and an interesting shutter aperture and EV system for setting the exposure. So I'll go ahead and describe the features and functions of the Walz 35, and of course on the top here we have the film rewind knob. We have a shoe for mounting a flash gun, a shutter release button which is threaded for a standard cable release, and here we have the film winding lever and shutter charging lever, and the film counter dial, which is external and mounted on the outside, and you have to reset it manually by turning it. We have the catch here on the side, which you lift up to open the film door, and the inside is quite a simple camera. Pop up the rewind knob to put in the film and put it back inside and close it. On the bottom we have the rather odd offset tripod socket on the side instead of the middle, but that leaves more room for camera mechanism in the middle, I suppose. On the back here we have the viewfinder window, and then we have a cap screw which covers the access hole for adjusting the infinity adjustment on the rangefinder. Moving to the front of the camera, we have the viewfinder window, the rangefinder window, and the matte glass, which allows light to project onto the projected bright line frame lines in the viewfinder. Now here we have a focusing tab, which is kind of in an odd position. It's kind of in an odd position because when you reach up to it in the infinity position, your thumb kind of goes inside the viewfinder. It takes a little bit of getting used to, because most of the cameras I come across have them usually somewhere on the bottom, like in the maybe the 4 o'clock or the 7 o'clock range, rather than right up here on the 1 or 2 o'clock side of the lens. The rangefinder focuses from about just 2.7 feet, just under 1 meter, to infinity. In front of that we have 3 rings. We have an aperture ring, shutter speed ring, and an EV scale ring. These cameras have a really interesting EV system, which allows them to be used easily with a handheld light meter or a light meter app. With your app or your meter, you input the film speed you are using and you take a light meter reading, and usually on the scale it will give you an EV number. and you can select the EV number on the top here, and this one will run from, say, EV1 all the way up to EV17. So if I wanted to choose EV10, and this would give me a range of f250 at 1.8 to say a quarter of a second at f16. And what I can do is I can turn this middle ring here between the aperture and shutter speed, and both rings turn together. So I can get a faster shutter speed with a wide aperture for a narrow depth of field, and as I turn the ring this way, I can get a slower shutter speed with more depth of field, but the EV setting remains the same. So I can make the adjustments together instead of separately, which for amateur photographers at the time was a more simple way to operate a fully manual mechanical camera. Of course, you can operate the rings separately if you like. Luckily on these, it's not such a difficult thing to do. The viewfinder on this camera is quite simple. It is a fixed bright line, frame line system without parallax correction, and it has the frames which give you an indication of what you're going to see on the film. And as you move the camera, of course this changes without parallax correction, but the viewfinder includes a couple of extra marks when you are at close focus. And usually they give you a little bit of room for error here, so you're not likely to cut off someone's feet or head when you're taking a photo with this camera. Overall, the camera it fits well in the hands. It's a little bit heavy, but not too heavy. The quality of the leatherette is very good, better than what I see on a lot of other rangefinder cameras. The fit and finish is quite good, and the smoothness of operation is really nice. Nice quiet whir there when you wind the film, and a quiet leaf shutter. And I believe this one has 5-bladed aperture blades, but kind of the earlier style with the fingers on it rather than the later ones which are used in the later Copal shutter cameras. But overall, a really interesting camera. I'm going to be listing this camera for sale in my Etsy and eBay stores. If you're interested, please check the description below the video for links to my stores. And if you're looking for another kind of vintage Japanese camera, I have a pretty good assortment of them available right now, so please check them out. Anyway, that's my video about the Walz Envoy 35. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And if you'd like to see more videos about Japanese vintage cameras, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.